Recording. All right, we're recording. Mr. Jonathan Busch, are you all right if we record this here conversation for the purposes of an interview for Spotlite sessions?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so I'm sitting here today with Jonathan Busch, who wrote an adult coloring book. I guess wrote's not the right word, illustrated adult coloring book called YAG. It's volume 1, available on Etsy, celebrating the best of Edmonton Drag. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us. Spotlight sessions at Starlight Room. Andrea always set me up with interesting people. So tell us a little about your adult coloring book.
Well, it's basically what it says in the description. It's a coloring book celebrating the best of Edmonton Drag. So it's just a collection of images that can be colored of local drag queens. Some which don't live here anymore, but I qualify them as having kind of dual citizenship because they're in Calgary, but they've kind of did enough here that I could still classify them as Edmonton. Yeah, basically, and then each page has also on the flip side has a little write up or a little
biography.
Yeah, a little survey, like a kind of or a little information sort of where I asked them to just tell me to answer some questions, and I have their replies on the back there. Some are really long and some are really short.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a little bit of background there. And yeah, and then each page has like 3 images of each performer. I should, I'm just gonna quickly grab a copy here. I have one. Just so I have it on hand here.
Mm-hmm.
Put my little exit there. Yeah. I'll, basically, there's like 3 images of each performer and then their name.
Okay.
And that's for each. So if that's visible there, then that's the little write up on the back there, and then that's the cover.
Wonderful. So why did you decide to make an adult coloring book celebrating drag, Edmonton Drag particularly?
Well, it wasn't my first one. Like I had done because I'm a part of a drag house in Edmonton. We're called the House of Homicidal, and I had done a coloring book for our group, so one of each of us. And at that point, I think there was 9 of us. Now there's like 11, but that had been suggested to me by a friend as an idea because I had been doing some artwork and just posting it online and stuff, and he suggested, why don't you do a coloring book? And I thought, oh, that's a cute idea, but I thought it was a little juvenile because I hadn't heard of the adult color. This was right around the time the adult coloring thing was starting to sort of make itself known. Yeah. And then like maybe a few months later, I saw these, adult coloring books in the store, and then all these articles online about why coloring is supposed to be therapeutic and whatnot. And then I was like, oh, this is what he meant. And that's what he was referring to. Whereas I just thought of like children's content. So anyhow, I went ahead and made that, and then that sold pretty darn well because we were doing these shows at Metro Cinema, and we sold out in during our intermission in like 10 minutes. And then they just continue to sell. I don't print those ones anymore because the artwork isn't up to par. I'm not as proud of the artwork, at least compared to what I'm doing now. I did print some new ones for a friend, and then I did a second one later on that was just Edmonton Drag, but it was more of just like an experiment and for a fundraiser. And then that one, instead of reprinting that one, I thought, why don't I just start a new one? Because my sort of, I guess, skill level I brought that up a bit. Right. But essentially also just, it had been, the scene had expanded so much. There's so many more people doing drag now, especially because of RuPaul's Drag Race, that there's a lot more people on the scene. And so I thought this would be kind of a fun way to, I guess, just kind of promote it. Like the previous ones were more, I guess, insular, I guess, or like sort of just within the scene.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, I was hoping to like maybe just make it like a little bit more, to be able to share it outside of the scene, perhaps,
Right.
you know, and give it some outreach and actually make people aware of the performers that we have in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually really a cool thing. I personally know some of the queens in the book, and I was actually looking it up on Etsy, and it's very well done. Like, I mean,
Oh, thank you.
like there's a, like, it's not really children's content. Actually, we talked a little about this before the interview, and we kind of said maybe like PG-13, just for anybody thinking about getting it for their kids, because I know that there were some drag brunches they were doing and stuff pre-COVID that were very popular for families and things like that. So I have some friends' kids that would like it, but maybe we'll wait till they're not 7. Um, so
Yeah, there is a few images that are just a little bit, maybe just a
racy,
little bit up. Yeah.
we'll say racy. So
Great.
which queens are in your book? Drag queens, excuse me, that you have in your book? I know there's quite a few, but just honorable mentions even.
Well, I guess I have some from the House of Homicidal. I actually kind of let myself choose. I think maybe it's a maximum of 3 or 4, I think, because I maybe a little biased, but it might have just ended up being all of them. And if I hadn't kind of guarded myself a bit. So there's Lilith Fair. She's actually the kind of she and Chelsea Horrendous. They're the ones who started Homicidal. Both
Mm-hmm.
of them are, and they're both kind of iconic. And Lilith is pretty well known because she's done stuff kind of all over, in terms of the theater scene as well. And then Chelsea's kind of also well known in sort of like the kind of like the goth punk New City sort of scene. New City
Okay.
being the club that used to be open
Mm-hmm.
in Edmonton. Yeah, and then there's Vanity Fair, and there is I'm already forgetting. There's Godiva, who won Alberta's Next Drag Superstar not last year. They didn't have it, or it's canceled last year, 2019.
Right.
There is Twiggy, who is the legend of the scene. I don't know. The Edmonton Drag Superstar, I like to call her, of all time. She's been doing drag since 1980, and she's just a lovely person, incredibly talented performer, and just kind of has seen it all and kind of knows it all, and is just so many different acts and popular numbers that she has, but also she's always there helping new performers and performers who are not as or just anybody, and she's kind of just there for everybody. And yeah, kind of a mother to the scene. But yeah, and then also, and we have Gemini, who's a super talented newer queen that's maybe been around for a year or 2 now, and then really like just wonderful, brilliant makeup. If you follow her on Instagram, it's some brilliant looks. And yeah, other than Sushi, also she's one of our like bio queens technically. Like women who do drag. So
Oh yes,
yeah, women
actually.
do women.
Oh yeah, I seen that on Rupauls. My wife has seen all the episodes. I have seen all the episodes. I am up to date on my RuPaul's history. If you can imagine, I've seen them all. I know the whole story of RuPaul, and honestly, Pioneer. And that was sort of when you were talking about that one particular drag queen. Sorry, I forgot her name, but she sounds like a pioneer that you were talking about.
Twig.
The
Yeah.
mother. Yes, thank you. Sorry, it went by me so fast.
Yeah.
but yeah, she sounds like a pioneer, and that's sort of an interesting thing because because of RuPaul, and just it's so much more open and in the scene than it ever was. That it's almost everywhere now, and I think that's a great thing because um, women doing drag as women, or even straight men doing drag and things like that, is something that a lot of people never, I don't think, knew happened, and it's really
Hmm.
quite common. Like it's a really interesting performing art that I only gained an appreciation for about 10 years ago when I met my wife, because she was so ingrained in the scene. So I'm
Oh, nice.
actually, I was very, it was cool to see this book, and I think that a lot of people could benefit from it. Where can we buy it is the most important
Um,
thing.
I currently have it just on Etsy right now. So if you search on Google, it comes up just YEGUE or Edmonton Drag Coloring Book. And my Etsy shop is called Artisan. It's ARTATHAN. So it's like Jonathan, but art instead of John.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to confirm that. Yeah, and it should be the only link for stuff on sale or for sale right now
Okay.
that I have. And pardon me. Yeah, and you can go on there to buy it. I am kind of looking into considering trying to sell it in a shop or something. There's a few shops that I think sell some local work and whatnot. I just haven't actually done the outreach yet, but yeah, currently that's where people can get it. I'm hoping to also have it for sale at shows when they are able to start doing them again, whenever that will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but online right now, and it is free shipping, $25.
Perfect. No, well, and that's the thing, is merch sells the best at shows, not just for, artists, but I know that drag events is how a lot of queens bring in their money as performers. And right now
Yeah,
that they're not in any better shape than any musicians or artists that I usually talk to. So that's not ideal, but hopefully we can get back to that soon. Is there anybody
yeah.
you would like to thank for your pursuit in this particular project, or in general, that supported you in your illustrative or artistic ways?
Uh, I mean, I guess it's the queens themselves that agreed to be in it. I mean, I was a little like nervous asking people because I was also like using their image to make a product of sorts. But everybody was really happy to be part of it, and also just like to fill out the survey I sent and to share their story and whatnot. So and beyond that, I guess just the scene in general, because everybody, and I mean, since I started doing kind of digital artwork, which was kind of happened by accident, I just kind of got an iPad and thought, hey, why don't I try this out? I wonder if this is a thing, and then started playing around, and then it just became a thing. Um, and then since I started doing that, I was like selling fridge magnets and T-shirts and whatnot with local queens on it and other stuff, and I've just kind of had, and then commissions and whatnot. So it's sort of been, but the drag scene is kind of, I just has always felt has been like a great motivator, but also just like hugely supportive. And I guess just when it came to this project, there was a lot of, I was really happy to see how many people were into it when I put it out there, and were excited to share it and whatnot. So, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's a very family oriented scene. Obviously it's been a
Yeah.
long time since we've been to the bar, but I know that when we go out, we see people we haven't seen in years, and right away they're like, oh my God, come over here, come have a drink. It's just like you never left. And I find that, the drag scene can be, like, for lack of a better term, a little clicky. It's good because it's like a family. It's not a negative thing. The word click is usually a negative thing, but I don't mean it that way. I mean, it's very family oriented in, that you guys all support each other. Or at
Yeah.
least from what I've seen, it's not like you know, you're new, you're not welcome here. You know, I've never felt that, and I like that vibe. So usually I ask every artist I interview what's something they would tell a new artist coming up. But since you're a little bit of a different type of artist, I want to ask you, if you were to speak to a young person wanting to do drag, what would be your first piece of advice?
Um, I guess just, I mean, there's I guess, and this is some advice I heard from like a coworker who's an author, and she just said about when it comes to people writing, is that you just have to become obsessed with it. It's the
Okay.
same way with drawing and artwork in general, I find. But it's when I started, it just became something that I couldn't not do, or couldn't not obsess about, trying to improve on and keep practicing and whatnot. So it just became like when I was just out and about during the day, it would be sort of just like I would be, wanting to look at, pictures of Harry on Pinterest just to sort of see how I can achieve that particular style of eyeshadow or something, to just become sort of part of your day-to-day thought process and what kind of motivates you. So and I'd say once that ball starts to get rolling, it's sort of just kind of continue with it and try to not suppress it, and also just tell your own story and be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Try to be don't try to be a drag race queen. Don't try to be a professional queen that gets booked everywhere. Just be your own and let that sort of be what it is. And then also, I guess, there was another piece of advice, which is not mine, quoting another friend who's a queen, that said, if you keep the craft up here and the attitude down here, they'll at one point meet in the middle. Which I find to be like probably the most golden advice I've heard, because it can get to your head a little bit, and it can sort of, because it becomes such a big part of your psyche, it can make you very, I don't know, self-conscious and maybe resentful, or just can kind of give you a whole roller coaster of thoughts and emotions and feelings. And also that drag queens, there's so many different areas of it that you have to be, it makes you feel like you have to be good at everything, and that's impossible. So
Mm-hmm.
if there's areas where you're weaker, feel free to work on them, but don't let that sort of dictate how you sort of feel about your skill level, because there's so many ways you can excel and show strengths. So
Mm-hmm. And further to
yeah.
that point, something I'd like to point out that I again learned when I met my wife: drag is actually a performing art. It's not a fashion choice. It's actually a performing art. And I just think that
Yeah.
anybody that doesn't know that by 2021 should watch a season of Rupauls, because it actually
Mm-hmm.
takes some real talent to be a good drag queen. So just further that, it's not an easy gig. It is certainly not an easy gig.
Definitely. And also for watching content, if you check out, I mean, there's a bunch of other shows. There's Dragula and House of Drag from New Zealand, and
Yes.
but there's also a series called Canada's a Drag that CBC produced, and it's I think it's up to 3 seasons now. It's really great. They kind of they go through different provinces and select different queens and kind of follow them, and they're like
Okay.
about 5 minutes each, and they compared to Drag Race, which kind of gives you a televised reality show version of it. This kind of puts you in the space of what it's actually sort of like to kind of be a person that's a local person. And I am also plugging it because I'm in, there's one about me in the first season of it. If
Oh,
you look me up.
oh, well, perfect. That also is a point. If people want to look you up and look you up as a drag queen, what is your drag name and where do they find that information?
It's on my Instagram, but it's Lourdes, the Mary Virgin. So it's Lourdes, like Madonna's daughter,
Mhm.
and then Mary, like Merry Christmas Virgin.
Mm.
Um, uh, yeah, if you're looking for the Canada's a Drag video, search how drag saved this librarian from depression.
Oh, perfect.
Article that I mean, and I'm not a librarian. I'm technically a library assistant, just for the record.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's or. But if you look up Canada's a Drag season 1, I'm there. But watch the other ones too, because there's also one from Sephoria, who's in the coloring book. There's one about her for season 3, and then Duke Carson from Calgary is season 2, and that's a drag king from Calgary who is phenomenal, like just a star with a capital S. Yeah, and yeah, but for my own stuff, yeah, my Instagram is at Lourdes the Mary Virgin, and then also check out Dragging Our Heels on YouTube, which is a group that records local performances in Edmonton and now Calgary as well. But there is hundreds, no, I think it's thousands now of videos of all the different shows that they've recorded.
Okay.
And my numbers, some of my lesser numbers. So look at the date, just so you know, like some of them, you'll know why they're not as, why I look the way I do, because it was early on. But there's also, of all the different performers in the book, there's tons of videos of them, and yeah, basically you get to see kind of they're great. They've put so much great content on there, and then also even the Rupauls Drag Race Queens, when they've come to Edmonton, they have their performances on there too. So
Wonderful. Jonathan, I really appreciate your time. And this was actually a really interesting interview for me. Like I said, I usually do artists, so this was new. And this is, well, you're an artist. It's different than what I'm used to, but I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
We'll make sure that we get all your links, all your contact info, everything when we put this interview out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.